My girlfriend demanded I apologize to her male best friend for hurting his feelings, so I did, in front of his wife, exposing his affair. I'd been dating Sarah for almost 3 years when her friendship with Jason started causing problems in our relationship. At first, I tried to ignore it. Jason had been in her life long before I came along. They worked together years ago and somehow stayed incredibly close. They texted every day, talked on the phone constantly, and met for coffee several times a month. Whenever I mentioned it, Sarah always gave the same answer. He's my best friend. I wasn't asking her to stop talking to him. I wasn't trying to control who she spent time with. I just wanted boundaries. Things got worse after Jason married Megan. Most people naturally focus more on their spouse after getting married. Jason seemed to do the opposite. The late night calls continued. The private lunches continued. The emotional conversations continued. Whenever Jason had a problem, Sarah became the first person he called. One Friday night, Sarah and I were out for dinner when Jason called. She answered immediately. I sat there while my food got cold. 15 minutes later, she finally hung up. Everything okay? I asked. Jason and Megan had a fight. I stared at her. Why is he calling you instead of talking to his wife? Sarah rolled her eyes. You're being jealous. That word became her favorite defense. Jealous. Every concern I raised somehow became proof that I was insecure. Months passed. Then came the moment that really bothered me. Sarah canceled our weekend plans because Jason needed someone to talk to. Again, when she got home later that evening, I asked her one question. If Megan spent this much time with another guy, would Jason be okay with it? Sarah didn't answer. She simply walked away. That silence said enough. A few weeks later, Jason invited everyone to a barbecue at his house. Megan was there. Sarah was there. And I was there. For the first time, I stopped listening and started watching. The way Jason looked at Sarah, the way he laughed at everything she said, the way he always found reasons to stand next to her. At one point, Megan was carrying food to the table while Jason stood beside Sarah talking. Then he touched her arm. Not casually, not accidentally, just long enough to make it uncomfortable. I noticed Megan see it too. Her smile faded for a second before she forced it back. That night, I finally said what had been on my mind for months. Jason is in love with you. Sarah actually laughed. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. The argument lasted nearly an hour. For the next few days, she barely spoke to me. Then she showed up at my apartment angry. Apparently, she'd told Jason everything. According to her, I'd hurt his feelings. He wants an apology. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. You want me to apologize because I noticed another man is emotionally attached to my girlfriend? You're apologizing, she said firmly. I looked at her for a few seconds, then I nodded. Fine. She smiled immediately. What she didn't know was that I'd recently learned something interesting. A mutual friend had casually mentioned seeing Jason and Sarah having dinner together at a hotel restaurant months earlier. The friend assumed I already knew. I didn't. After that conversation, I started connecting a lot of dots. I never found evidence of a physical affair, but emotionally, the line had clearly been crossed. The apology was scheduled for the following Saturday at Jason's house. Sarah insisted on it. Jason agreed. Most importantly, Megan would be there. When everyone gathered in the backyard, Sarah gave me a look that said, just get this over with. I cleared my throat. Jason, I owe you an apology. He nodded confidently. Sarah smiled. Megan looked confused. I'm sorry for saying you were in love with my girlfriend. Jason visibly relaxed. Then I continued. What I should have said is that you're emotionally involved with her. The smile disappeared instantly. Sarah froze. Megan slowly looked at her husband. I kept going. I'm also sorry for assuming nobody noticed the constant calls, private lunches, weekend meetups, hotel dinners, and the fact that you share more with Sarah than you do with your own wife. The entire backyard went silent. Jason looked stunned. Sarah looked horrified. Megan stared at both of them. Then she asked one question. Hotel dinners? Neither of them answered. They didn't have to. Megan turned around and walked into the house. Jason immediately followed her. 10 minutes later, he came back outside, carrying a duffel bag. Megan had thrown him out. Sarah spent the drive home calling me cruel. I spent the drive saying nothing. 3 days later, we broke up. Months later, I heard Megan had filed for divorce. Jason was living alone in an apartment. Sarah tried contacting me a few times after our breakup. I never replied. The last thing I heard was that Jason and Sarah eventually stopped talking too. After years of insisting there was nothing wrong with their friendship, it turned out their friendship couldn't survive once everyone finally saw it for what it really was.